Hey all, welcome back to ShareTreck. It is 27th November, it's the evening, and the share market was really volatile last week and ended down, but surprisingly a couple of our CRISPR shares were still green. So that's the backdrop of today's session, and today I'm going to take a deeper look at these companies and find out what is it that they have in their pipelines and who is the closest to come out with a product that can start generating revenue for these companies. So if you're interested, you can continue watching. And this is a brand new channel, and I would look forward to your support and encouragement in order to bring you more content and the kind of content that you would like to see. And therefore I would request you to like, share and subscribe. Your like does make a lot of difference to the algorithms, and your subscribe does make it much more motivating for me to keep on investigating and bringing you better content every week. This video is my opinions. This is not financial advice. This is for entertainment only. Please do your own due diligence and consult your financial advisor before making investment. So having said that, let's get started. So we'll start with CRISPR, and I've gone to their pipeline page. All these gene editing companies have a page which is either called pipeline or portfolio of projects, and that shows their all the projects and trials that are going on. So in case of CRISPR, we'll see that in their pipeline page, they have two categories of approaches. One is the in vivo approach, in which the cell remains within the body and it is targeted within the body for editing and correcting errors. Whereas ex vivo is the other method, in which what they do is they take out the cells, modify them, repair them with CRISPR, and then put it back into the body. So these are two approaches. So they have homoclinopathies where they are in the clinical trial stage. And if we press this plus, it gives you more details about it. I'm not going to go through reading all these things because you can do it yourself. It's available on the internet. But I'm going to give a high-level overview. And the second one is immuno-oncology, where again they have got 3 candidates in the clinical stage. Regenerative medicine is the third category where they have VCTX210 in the clinical stage. So that's what they have in their website. We look at Vertex. Vertex is the next big company in this area. In their pipeline page, they have a very detailed layout of all the areas that they are working in: cystic fibrosis, pain, sickle cell disease, thalassemia, kidney diseases, muscular dystrophy, type 1 diabetes, and there's a category called out-license, which is very interesting to me, because out here, it's my understanding, I'll still have to do a little more research on it, but my understanding is that when you out-license to some other third party, then they are going to invest the money and you take share in the revenue. So that will be a nice leveraging of efforts, and also shortening the time frame required to bring a viable profitable product to market. So let's look at what what Vertex has got in its pipeline. So they have for cystic fibrosis, like if you use the down arrow, it gives you more information about where they are. We are submitting regulatory filings globally for geographic expansion and or label expansions. So it seems that they are on phase 4 for IVA factor, Lumaka factor, and Tezuka factor. Oh, that's a mouthful. And in terms of cystic fibrosis, again, they have a candidate in phase 4 and one more candidate in phase 3. So that is what they have. And there are additional candidates called small molecules in preclinical trial. And for pain, they have at least one candidate in phase 2. And for sickle cell disease, they have a candidate in phase 1 as well as phase 2. And this is where I think we had the better news in terms of, this is the most advanced of their candidates to the best of my knowledge. And it's most likely to come to market first. And let us look at what else they have here. They have CTX100 for sickle cell disease, AATD in preclinical, and for kidney disease also they have a candidate in preclinical. So there is plenty here, but my interest is more on the out license, VX970 out license to Merck, KGA, Germany. In January 2017, they entered into the license agreement. So this is not a new news, but something has got to come out of this out licensing agreement, which might be a revenue source for Vertex. VX803 out license to Merck, again in January 2017. And VX984 out license to Merck. So these are three. So I'm planning to get in touch with some expert in this field and kind of set up an interview. I'm looking for the right person to have an interview with so that we can make sense of what all this means to us as investors from the point of view of seeing positive returns into the fund flow and looking at the healthier balance sheet and potential dividends going forward. The next company I'm going to look at is Regeneron. And in case of Regeneron, they also have a very, very good interface where you can just select a particular area of interest and you get all the candidates and in which phase they are. So for example, I've selected cardiovascular or metabolic diseases. So they have got NPR1 in phase 1. They got ANGPTL3 antibody in phase 2, LEPR antibody in phase 2, and in phase 3 they have got PCSK9 antibody. So these are what you can see, but if you remove all the filters and look at all the candidates that they have, so like from an investor perspective, I'm not a scientist, okay, I'm not going to try to pretend to even know what the hell all these things means, but from the point of view of an investor, I'm really encouraged to see so many candidates in phase 3. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 candidates in phase 3, which to me seems to be a pool of possibilities from which some might get approved and we might be closer to monetization on these candidates here. Whereas they have a whole lot of new candidates in phase 1, which is a increasing pipeline which may get filtered as we go to phase 2. And the most probable ones are in phase 3. So I would say that Regeneron definitely has a huge portfolio of candidates, and I would encourage all of you to have a look at these and maybe put in the comment what you think, because I'm not a scientist, I'm looking at it purely from an investor's perspective, and any comment from you would be helpful. The next one I would like to look at is Beam Therapeutics. And they have a very concise chart in which they show their candidates, and I would think that Beam 101 and Beam 201 are the most advanced of the two candidates. They still have to go to phase 1 and phase 2 as well as pivotal, so I believe that they are in a very initial stages and we'll need to watch this space. They are in the area of hematology, oncology, liver diseases, and ocular. So probably Beam is probably the only one in ocular. We'll have to see. So that's about Beam. And we have another company called Bluebird Bio. And they are in phase 3 for Starbeam ALD102. These are all targeting cerebral maladies, cerebral ALD104 and 102. And they also have HGB207, which has got to do with thalassemia, and it's in phase 3. And they also have another candidate, HGB210, for sickle cell disease. That's also in phase 3. Apart from that, they have one candidate in phase 2, one in phase 1, and an undisclosed, few undisclosed candidates which are still in the preliminary stages. So that's what we have with Bluebird Bio. And then if we look at Intellia Therapeutics, then we have both in vivo and ex vivo programs, which we talked about earlier. And the most advanced candidate for them seems to be in early stage clinical trials for ATTR and NTLA-2002, which is also in early clinical stage. So they have this plus symbol. If we open that up, it shows more information about about the candidate. And I'd encourage all of you to have a look at it and paste your comments as to how close you think they are to being marketable. So that was about Intellia. We have Editas. Editas has got a pipeline which is in early clinical stage for EDIT 101 for Leber congenital amaurosis 10, that is LCA 10, and the rest seem to be in the preliminary stages when it comes to in vivo edited medicines. And for ex vivo gene edited medicines, they are in early clinical stage for EDIT 301. When it comes to Editas, they have got in vivo gene edited medicines, at least one candidate in early clinical stage, that is EDIT 101. And when it comes to ex vivo gene edited cell medicines, they have got one candidate for sickle cell disease, EDIT 301. And that's about what they have, which is, even in their diagram, we have got 3 more stages to go before I think it can become commercially viable or, revenue producing. So that's what we have about Editas. Now I'd like to go to the action of what happened on Friday. Let's first go to the indicators. So as I have been talking about in the past, that when we look at VIX, which is the volatility index for the stock market, it is forming a downward wedge. So this is the downward wedge I was talking about, and each of these candlesticks are 1 week in time frame, and we are looking at a 5-year time frame. So you would see that in the past also there have been these movements where the VIX spiked up, which is when markets crashed, and then they come down, markets recover, they spike again, markets fall, and so on and so forth. As long as the volatility level is low, which is at a base of 11.66, which is where we have a support, all-time support for the VIX, the market looks decent and it's not that choppy. But then you have spikes like what happened on 2nd March and on 2nd to 23rd of March, when the volatility spiked, and that's when the market kind of crashed. And then we saw recoveries and then a little bit of fall, recoveries, a bit of fall, and we have reached a new peak for all the indices, Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500, everything is at its peak. And out here, we are looking at the action on VIX since March of 2020, when everything crashed. Since then, the market has improved and VIX has been settling down, but it has been forming higher lows and lower highs, and therefore we have this red line, which kind of shows where most of the VIX spikes have terminated and come back. That's kind of a resistance, and this green line shows the support, where most of the time it has bounced back from the bottom. So now we are in a situation where we are at the end of this wedge, where this red resistance line and green support line merge together. So the VIX can either continue to fill up this spot by bouncing in between these two lines, or just spike up. But what we saw on Friday was that it just spiked up. So now on Monday, we have to see if it's going to spike up further and try to emulate what happened in March 2020, and see whether, if that happens, then all the shares are likely to fall and the CRISPR shares will be available at an even greater discount, because when the markets fall, when the volatility is high, people flee from risk. And all these new companies are high risk companies, because some of the candidates may succeed and may not succeed. But along with this spike, what enabled this spike was also the fact that the new COVID variant has been found, which is Omicron, which is really described as being much more virulent and much more fast spreading. And the scary thing about that, the new variation, is that the spike protein has mutated. So all the vaccines that we have so far have been built on the spike protein. So if the spike protein has mutated, then the companies need to do a little bit more research, maybe a week or two, to confirm whether the existing vaccines can work, or if they have to modify the vaccine and reintroduce it to all the populations again. So that is a big uncertainty that the market has to look at, because what it means to the market is that if the vaccines are not effective and everybody has to be vaccinated all over again, then we are going to see a lot of travel restrictions put back in place, Already parts of South Africa, parts of African continent has been blocked by many countries, including Canada and the EU. So that kind of creates more problem for supply chain as well as tourism and the hospitality industry, which is just recovering from all the beating that it has taken so far. And if we are going to have more selective lockdowns and more work from home, it's again going to disrupt the real estate market, which is trying to find its footing back, the hospitality sector, and also the businesses, which have been able to kind of work around all these constraints and still generate profits. They are going to find it difficult. Also, various governments have been paying money, especially the G7 countries have been giving a lot of support to business and individuals in order to help them tide over the COVID crisis, where a lot of lockdowns had been put into place and people could not work. How strong are the economies to be able to continue providing that kind of a support, and does it make any sense? So all those issues are there, and along with that, we all have the already existing issues about the Fed tapering, continuing the tapering process and starting to increase the interest rate. So as you can see, there's a whole lot of uncertainties that we need to work out, and therefore I think the next week is going to be pretty difficult. And until we get some verdict from the scientists and the pharmacy companies that the existing vaccines can still be effective against the Omicron variant, we are going to have choppiness in the market. So I myself have a strategy. I have already, as I've been telling in my previous videos also for the last week or so, that the VIX is spiking and therefore it's a big risk. I have already sold most of my positions, and I'm sitting on cash right now. Almost 75% of my portfolio is cash. So I would be looking to buy some really good opportunities when they present themselves. So I'm going to hold on and wait for the vaccine information. And again, all these are my opinions. This is not financial advice. Please consult your financial advisor. Do your own due diligence before investing in the shares. So that's all I have for today. I again encourage you to please like, share, and subscribe. Please send me your comments so that we can have an interaction. I can bring you content that is more to your liking and interest. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.